How to create perfect posts on social platforms every time. Been talking about social media a lot lately with people on my team, various businesses, as well as on my Internet Marketing Tool blogs and my webinars with Mike Barnes over at Best Online Marketing Webinar. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how you should go about creating your posts. There's just a few things to keep in mind as you go from social site to social site that will give you some best practices. And it's not a bad idea to keep a little checklist as a reminder as far as the things that you need to do on each of the sites. And each of them are a little bit different, so you need to take different things into account. Let's start with Facebook. You always want to keep very positive, of course. Positive posts are going to attract more people. You're going to get more interaction and more play from your posts if you do that. You also need to provide a link. Seems kind of basic, but if you don't give a link for them to click through to, you're not going to be able to engage them further after the fact, which means, of course, you definitely want to make that a capture page or a squeeze page or a landing page, whatever you want to call it, something where you can capture their information and get them to opt in to get more information from you. Now, in your status update part of the post, you definitely want to provide information. It can't just be a platitude or just a real short comment. You've got to talk about something that's going to, again, get them engaged. Always include an image. Images are the most often shared format of content on social media. So you definitely want to make your post be an image. I'm not saying you should never post videos or anything like that, but you should heavily be relying upon images. And of course, it's not a bad idea to make some unique ones of your own. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. Check out our archived webinars over at bestonlinemarketingwebinar.com, and you'll get a lot of ideas there. Now, engaging with the users. People are going to comment, like, and share your pictures and your posts. You really need to engage them once they do this. When someone shares your post on Facebook, you'll see after it'll say 3 shares. If you click on that, it's going to show the shares. Click through to those and like them. That's going to expand the reach of your post. Now, when someone comments, you need to reply to each and every comment. Now, this is going to seem like, oh my gosh, what if I end up with 50 comments? That's fine. You're getting more and more exposure to your post, and you need to give a separate reply in the comments field to each and every person who comments. And be sure to tag them in your reply so that, again, it will extend your reach. So you don't want to give just a common reply to 2 or 3 different comments that have gone there. So if there were 3 different people that had commented on your post, you would put 3 different replies. Be available, be checking this stuff out regularly so that it doesn't go a week before you reply, because it's going to keep the post alive and active. Really, Facebook is one of the most active social sites on the internet. No secret there. There are just a few things like that you need to keep in mind. One thing that you don't want to do, Facebook is one of the sites you do not want to use hashtags. We'll talk about that more on the other sites where you do want to use them. But in the meantime, keep that in mind. Facebook, you're mostly just going to irritate people if you're posting them. I do not like to attach my Twitter feed over to my Facebook page and have that come on there. That's just personal preference, but most marketers will tell you that that's really not a good idea. Speaking of which, let's talk about Twitter. In your message, you've only got 140 characters, so you've got to really make the most of that. You need to have a call to action. Tell the people what you want them to do about your tweet. Punctuation and capitalization, you need to use capital letters the way you would normally, and avoid abbreviations. You really kind of have to avoid punctuation for the most part as well, unless it's vital to what you're doing or saying. You want to shorten the URLs if you have to make it fit, and Bitly is the best way to do it here as well. Here you do use hashtags. You're going to hear people saying that various sites right now, oh my gosh, they don't use hashtags anymore. it's okay. Go ahead and use the hashtags, because in Twitter particularly, that is what makes the post searchable. Hashtag is the # followed by whatever keyword you want to make the post searchable with, and but no spaces. So if it was a 2-word hashtag, you'd have to run them together with no space. So the hashtag and then immediately following that the word is what's going to be searchable is just whatever characters are immediately after hashtag until the first space. You definitely want to ask questions, use facts and figures, keep people engaged. You mention other Twitter users. Use the @ sign and then their username. That will get their attention. And then, of course, it's also a very good idea, if you have the space, to ask for a retweet. So put PLS space RTW. That stands for please retweet. People will know what that means. But you should also go out there and retweet other people's relevant content that would be relevant to your audience. And then, of course, when people retweet your content, you want to thank them. And the way you thank them is you say, just, thank you at their username for the retweet. Really appreciate it. Something like that. Mix it up. Don't make it the same every time. But definitely, again, it's kind of like the Twitter version of replying to a comment, I suppose you could say. And not a bad idea in some cases to carry on some conversations there. I know that Mike Barnes of SEO Alien, he gets a lot of his leads and a lot of his business from Twitter. So the only way you can do that is engage people in conversations. So let's go on now to Pinterest. Pinterest is really, really important because it is the site right now that is referring more targeted traffic than any other site on the internet, and that includes YouTube. So that's very, very important. A few things. Now, these things that we're going to talk about here are the things that are going to get your Pinterest posts the most shares. Now, for some reason, human faces don't get repinned as often as images get pinned more often than images with faces. The reason for this, who knows? Because everything that you read about banners always tells you that you want that human factor, you want the faces. But let me tell you something, there is more statistical evidence about Pinterest than just about any place else. So, again, you want to basically, if possible, pin stuff that has no human faces in it. Now, we're talking about your marketing posts now. We're not necessarily talking about the posts that you put up there that are just general interest stuff. You want a lot of different colors, but you want a lot of red in it. You don't want too much dead space. You want there to be enough content in it so that you're not really just, putting up something that's too blank. I do like to put up some posts that are just a background with text on it, but I don't make it text in just a sea, that looks like a sea of background color. I don't like to leave it that plain, because basically, why not add a little bit more message to it at the same time? Not a bad idea to stick with portrait style. You want something that's taller. And again, that for some reason, infographics do very, very well on Pinterest. Of course, infographics are very, very tall. But strangely, they say that images that are more than 60 pixels tall get repinned something like 10 times greater than those that aren't. So, again, you want it to be a taller image. People don't mind scrolling down, evidently, and they will share those images at a greater length. There's a great deal of discussion right now about hashtags on Pinterest. People have said that Pinterest is doing away with the hashtag feature, but frankly, even after they made that announcement, it still works. So I am still using them. I am still going ahead and putting them in there. Now, you can, of course, go ahead and should link your URL to the image. Doesn't mean you shouldn't or can't put it into the comments area. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. Depends, again, what type of a post it is. Is the call to action in the image? If it is, then you may not need to. But not a bad idea to put to use that comment area sort of like you would a YouTube video description, to where you've got the URL in there, and sometimes first. Now, another way to get a lot of play from Pinterest and expand the reach of your posts is to include a price. If there is a price that's applicable to what you're posting, that it's a physical product or whatnot, then go ahead and put that first in your comments, in your description area of your pin, because then if you do so with the $sign and then the numeric value, so like $9.99 for $9.99, then Pinterest automatically formats it so that it puts a $9.99 sticker sort of thing or ribbon up in the corner of your image, and then your image automatically gets included in their gift area. You can get a lot of traffic that way, so if it's at all applicable, go ahead and do that, and it will work very well for you. Google Plus. Google Plus is becoming more and more important. No surprise that Google is the biggest search engine in the world. And what does Google like more than anything else? Google likes Google more than anything else. So anytime that you can use their site, it's a good idea. You want to tag brands and people in your status updates, and you do definitely want to use hashtags. I've heard some people say, this is just aggravating, but still, again, it makes your post searchable, and so definitely go ahead and do that. There is that hot button, so use the what's hot to pick a fun and interesting topic, and then if you don't overuse it, it's a great way to also occasionally go ahead and tag an appropriate one of your own posts. It is amazing the size of images that you can put up on Google+. If you can find good, bright, full-size pictures, I mean, even we're talking like wallpaper-size images, as long as they're good quality and high-definition pictures. You don't want to put something in there and people look at it and say, well, that's kind of grainy. It's large. It takes up a lot of space, but it's just not all that exciting. They also allow animated GIF files, so you can actually have a picture with some animation, some movement to it. Play around with that when you get the opportunity, and I think you'll see. I've seen some where they've used it so that it looks like the water in a waterfall is moving, or water in a river is moving. Of course, you have a limited loop on that with the animated GIFs, but it does make for just something that's a little bit different and gets people's attention. Definitely want to +1 your own posts and others as well, and share. Just like with Facebook, you want to think of a +1 as a like, and a share, of course, is the same thing. It's just a share. As far as the comments, you use the exact same practices that you would with Facebook. You want to reply to everybody that comments on your posts, and individually, and tag them with their usernames. You definitely want to engage people as much as possible. You're going to get a lot of play off of Google+, and more and more as you go. Now, a topic that gets talked about a lot: when's the best time to post? Well, quite frankly, I have to say I've never paid all that much attention to it, but statistically speaking, this chart gives you a really good indication of what the best times are for each of these. Notice there's kind of some similarities there in various ones. Just basically pick out what works best for your schedule. Quite frankly, for me, if it was a choice between not posting and posting in a time that says worst, I'm going to post, because I'm still getting the content there. And let's face it, other people, if they're engaging with your page and whatnot, they're going to find it at some point. Of course, sooner is better than later. But hey, by all means, you want to, if you can, use this type of thing. Of course, if you're using Hootsuite to post your stuff, you can time it and schedule it, and then you can hit these times easily. I have to say I don't use that kind of automation often, so my usual posting times kind of fall into the realm of that anyway. But to be honest with you, occasionally I do post stuff at night, and I don't think too much about it, and my stuff does get a lot of play. I get a lot of exposure through my social media. So take that for what it's worth. Make your own strategies, and you of course do want to get the most play and most reach that you can for your posts. So take it into account and use it as best as you can. You definitely want, though, to take some action. The worst thing you can do is just examine, analyze, and just sit there. It all starts with that first brick. Go ahead and get started. If you're not already started in a business, click through on the brick there, and you can get started with me on my team. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and hope you're having a good day.